Hello, welcome to the Creators Guild podcast. I'm Chris Howell, and with me,
Jared Lovelady.
and we're here to talk about all things creative. And we are back again with another episode of Learning with Liz with our wonderful guest,
Liz Verity.
So, Liz, for anybody just diving in, Liz comes on. We have these episodes, Learning with Liz. Your degrees, you have. I don't remember what your degree is in now.
So my undergrad degree is in Spanish and sociology.
Yeah.
And then I have a graduate degree in forensic linguistics.
Yeah. So those things together, like fit really well with, getting into writing and language and how to express things.
Yes.
Like you combine those together and it actually works really well from a let's put words together and make them tell a story perspective. So Liz has, people can find you where?
I'm at lizverity.com. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram, author Liz Verity.
Okay. So she sends out, she does a newsletter, and then you do a quarterly, right?
I do, yeah. A quarterly newsletter, which is basically just kind of behind the scenes of my personal writing journey, the books I'm doing, pretty much everything I do as an author. And then I do a bi-weekly writing advice kind of newsletter where I just send out some writing tips every other Tuesday and kind of try to help people learn new things or see places where they can improve or something like that.
Yeah. And so the stuff she sends out, it gets very well. This both the information she sends out and the information on her website are. It really gets into, if you want to know the structure and want to know, like, as I said, your education and your experience with like putting words together to say things.
Yes.
If you want help in doing that, Liz is a great resource to do that.
Yeah, I'm very analytical, so I love getting into the nitty-gritty little detail things. So some of my posts, if you're a brand new writer, might go right over your head and be like, I have no idea what this is. But I try to do kind of more basic ones as well so that anybody new can have kind of the basics of what's going on. Yeah. But it's also evolved with me. So like my earlier posts and writing tips were basic because that's what I was learning at the time. And then as I've grown and found new little niches in the writing craft, I've explored those. So there's a little bit of everything on there for anyone, no matter your level of writing. Yeah.
So it's Liz does editing for us. And again, she does those deep dives, and some of the things were like, yes, this is really good and we should go rewrite this. And then some other things were like, that's some pretty analytical stuff. That's too much.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I do. It's like, I kind of do all levels, and then it's like, take what you want, leave what you don't. And doesn't hurt my feelings. Yeah. I just throw out what I can, hoping to kind of jog people's minds and make them figure out ways that they can improve their writing. So.
Yeah, and that's really what it comes down to. If go find Liz and follow her, and then take what you can from the information she puts out. Everything she put. There's no like, this is set in stone. This is the way to do it. It's a way.
Yes.
And she's good at what she does. And if nothing else, you can go follow and read through, and it will help you better analyze your own writing and your own skills, and hopefully improve and become a better writer. So that's why we have these episodes, Learning with Liz, where, for anybody who's just diving in, we haven't done that in a while. We haven't said, this is Liz.
This is what I do. Yeah.
So Liz comes on ever so often and brings some insight she brings a topic, and then we discuss.
Yes.
And then she tries to pull me back. Jared sometimes writes the ship as I try to derail whatever topic she has brought.
Yes. There's a lot of rabbit holes.
Yes. So with that, what are we going to talk about today?
So today I thought it'd be fun to go into a character-driven story versus a plot-driven story.
Okay.
Mostly because these are terms that a lot of people misunderstand. And I've even seen agents use it the wrong way. So I was like, you know what, I think, and we should just go into this just for the fun of it. So it's not exactly here's a writing tip on how to do your writing. It's more of like, okay, whether you're a writer or a reader, this is just some information for you to know so like you can talk about it like you kind of know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about whether our book is character driven or plot driven, and we could have been saying it wrong the whole time.
Yeah. Well, I did originally. Like at the very beginning, I would tell everybody I'm writing a character driven story. Like I love characters. It's all about the characters and kind of how they interact with each other. And I feel like that's probably what draws most people into my books is the people. So I always said I was character driven. And when I really looked into it, I was like, I'm not character driven. I'm plot driven. So typically
plot driven with depth in characters.
Yes. So what I say is I'm plot driven and character centered. So when I say character centered or plot centered, I usually mean like what is the big draw of the book? What is it that you really focus on? What is it your readers really come for? Plot centered is, you know, like those thrillers or, you know, action things where you're like, you're going for the spy story. You're going for this. You could be any spy. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Just,
any
I love
spy,
this
any
spy
detective.
Story. Yes.
You're trying to solve a puzzle.
Yeah. So those are kind of more plot centered, and character centered is like, okay, yeah, this could be a sprawling epic fantasy about saving the world, but really it's the characters that come. I love living with them in this world and seeing how they face the problems and things like that. So that's kind of what I mean when I say centered. But what most people say is it's plot driven or character driven. And that's totally different.
Okay.
So plot driven is where you follow a character to see how he or she responds to external things. So it's all about the external. So if it's, say, Lord of the Rings, that's plot driven because it's about having to take this ring to the mountain. Anybody could do it. It doesn't have to be Frodo. So
it could have been eagles.
It could have been eagles. So true.
We're gonna get a lot of hate now.
But yeah, so like while we all love it, we can't imagine, you know, Lord of the Rings without Frodo and Sam and all them. It literally doesn't change the story if you throw a different set of hobbits in there or, you know, something else. So that
Gandalf even said, like, he's like, hobbits are amazing creatures. Well, he happened to start with Bilbo, and then Frodo,
yes,
and then Sam came into it, and Pippin and Merry ended up being there. But like the old grumpy guy that was out, you know, raking in his garden at the beginning, he could have been the main character.
It could have been him, yeah.
Because he just said hobbits are, well, he didn't say this one hobbit is an amazing, unique hobbit.
Yes. Exactly. So that's plot driven. And then character driven is where you follow a character through their daily life and just discovering who they are and who they're going to become. So it's a very ordinary setting. So like Pride and Prejudice. We're following a family. They want to get their daughters married. It's, yes, you could follow any family, but it would be a very different story at that point because the whole story is based on these characters' decisions. It's a decision of Mrs. Bennet to get Mr. Bennet to get their daughters in front of, you know, Bingley and Darcy. And then it's Elizabeth's decision not to fall for Darcy immediately. And, you know, so if you had put Jane in that situation as well, it would have been a wholly different story. They would have gotten married right at the beginning.
Yeah.
So like it's, you that was like, you can't have that same story without those characters. The ending wouldn't have been the same.
Yeah.
It could have been different. Unlike Mount Doom, you're still going to have to get the ring to the mountain. It wouldn't have changed it if somebody else had done it. The end goal was still there versus in Pride and Prejudice, our goal was just to kind of get them married. And so it could have gone any other way, or they could have just not ended up married.
Yeah.
Depending on the person.
So thought on that. I was thinking about the Truman Show. Did you ever watch the Truman Show?
Yes.
So that one it's specific to Truman.
Yes.
But the plot is Truman has to figure out, like, whether or not his world is real.
Yes.
And then make a decision about whether or not to escape that world.
Mm-hmm.
So the story couldn't apply to anyone else except Truman.
Well, it could.
However, well, I mean, there isn't like the entire world was built around Truman.
Yes, but they could have built that entire world around Macy.
Yeah.
And then it would have been the same story. She would have had to discover it.
Yeah, I guess from that, like, I don't know. I'm trying to think through.
Because it's responding to external stuff. That's what makes it plot driven. So externally, this person was made a science experiment, basically. So it's them responding to that.
Okay. Truman was the mice from The Secret of Nim.
Yes.
They could have been any mice, anywhere. The rats of Nim and the mice.
Yes. Yeah.
You could have picked mice anywhere, and they would have, instead of being under the farmer's rose bush, they might have been in the sewers of New York.
Yes. Yeah. And so it could have been anybody put in that situation, and then they have to respond to it.
Okay. So even though it's wholly about Truman going down this path, and in the world in which Truman exists, he's the only person in that world. So I guess my thought was, in the Hobbit world, in the world of Lord of the Rings, any Hobbit could have been picked. But I guess in that same sense, any person could have been adopted. It didn't have to be Truman. It could have been Truman's buddy that came over and it's like, hey, Truman, I brought some brewskis,
Yes.
It could have been him. He could have been the Truman character had he been the one adopted.
Yes.
So it's not specifically.
It's not. And
it's
the
not,
story...
It's not because it's Truman.
No.
It's because of the scenario in which, the environment in which Truman exists.
Yeah. It's kind of about the end goal of the story. So in the Truman Show, if it had been somebody else, the story could have been vastly different. Somebody would have reacted differently to it and maybe wouldn't have learned, or maybe wouldn't have escaped, or wouldn't have chosen to go out. But the end goal is still, they realize they're part of an experiment and they have to do something about it.
Yeah.
In a character-driven one, the ending is kind of open-ended. Like, let's follow a kid, through their experience in high school. Perks of being a wallflower. That would have been a totally different story following a different kid.
Yeah.
And who knows how that experience would have been. So it's, if you think about the end goal, that's really how I kind of figure out how to define it as either character driven or plot driven.
So do stories with, I guess at the beginning of Pride and Prejudice, we still get the stated, there's an overall, there's a desire for all of the daughters to get married.
Yes. So
we still get that. There's a goal at the beginning that they want to accomplish.
Yes. Yeah. It's not just following somebody randomly through it. Like, there are stories out there where you just follow a person through their everyday life and there really doesn't seem to be a point. We're just kind of following them. Not a huge fan of those ones. I don't know what category they technically would be in, or if they are a category, but yeah, character driven doesn't mean there isn't a goal. It just means it's just an everyday goal. Like, it's not this external big thing that they're going to have to face.
Yeah. I guess, is that true from a chosen one story perspective? If, like, that individual is the chosen one and there couldn't have been anybody else chosen.
Well, Lord of the Rings is a chosen one story.
But
it could have been anybody.
Yeah. I'm saying, like, in stories where it couldn't have been anybody else.
Well, okay, so you're thinking on a, like, as if I'm in that world level.
Yeah.
I'm thinking on as a creator level. If I can create another character to put in that story,
okay,
then it's a plot-driven one.
Gotcha.
If, I can't tell that same story, like the Perks of Being a Wallflower, you can't tell that same story without that kid's unique personality, his friend group, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so Elizabeth and Mr. Darcy and, like, their specific... You're telling the story of it is specific to them.
Yes.
You couldn't have picked like gone to the region in which they lived and just, oh, we're just going to randomly pick somebody and stick them in the story.
Yeah. I mean, you can still tell the same type of story. It can still be a
Yeah.
story of getting to a marriage, but it would have been vastly different because it's all based on what that character's decisions are to get to that goal versus an external thing pushing on them and then having to react to it. I mean, at the end, yes, they always become active and pursue the goal themselves. But yeah, it's all about there's this external pressure on them.
And there's always going to be elements of both external and internal things that happen. But,
yes.
So then a plot-driven story, to kind of restate what you were. We're trying to nail this down here. A plot-driven story is there is a plot arc that needs to happen. There is a goal that needs to be attained in whatever world you're creating. And within that world, a character or characters are going to accomplish that goal, and they are driven by external pressures to push them in the direction of that goal.
Yes.
Versus a character-driven story is these characters are unique in how their specific story plays out.
Yeah, and just an everyday, ordinary situation.
And it's just they are in the situation that they're in just because of who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have some kind of everyday, ordinary goal, and there are challenges that come up that bar them accomplishing their goals.
Yes.
And that's the difference between character-driven, plot-driven.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
And the different genres kind of gear towards different ones. So a character-driven is often going to be like literary fiction a lot of times does that. Romance does that. Any coming of age where you're just following a kid, trying to get through and become an adult kind of thing. Those all just kind of naturally gear towards character-driven. And then plot-driven is more of your mainstream, like the mysteries, thrillers, science fiction, fantasy, all of those. They have these kind of external things that we put on people to make the story happen.
So, Teen Wolf with Michael J. Fox.
Teen Wolf. This sounds familiar. I think I might.
You don't know Teen Wolf?
Is it a TV show?
They made a TV show from it, but the original is Michael J. Fox.
Okay.
And he discovers that his family are werewolves.
Okay.
And it's not like you bite somebody, it's genetic.
Okay.
And when he, like at a certain stage in puberty, he finds out, like he goes in the bathroom and he's like having all these, like, he's just feeling really weird and stuff. And then all of a sudden all hair starts growing, everything. And then he's like, but it's not like he opens up the bathroom door and his dad is standing there and it's his dad. It's just, he has hairy face and looks like a sheepdog man,
Okay.
And he's like, Dad, what? Like, it's just still just them.
Yeah.
But they're all hairy and have werewolf features and stuff.
Yeah.
So the fact that you haven't seen it, like, gosh dang it. So to me, like, he finds out he's a werewolf. The goal from the beginning of the story is he wants to fit in high school.
Mm-hmm.
There's a popular girl that he likes, that he wants to like her, but he has a friend who's his best friend is actually a girl, and he has feelings about her, but she's not popular, and he's just trying to fit in high school.
Yeah.
Like, that's the goal. And then he finds out he's a werewolf.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, starts using that to become popular at school.
Okay.
The fact that he's a werewolf.
Yeah.
So, like, to me, I was thinking about it, and I'm like, yeah, Teen Wolf, I think, would fit. Very character-driven. Even though it's about a werewolf, him becoming a werewolf, the whole thing is, it's just a kid trying to fit in high school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think depending on the ratio, it sounds like it could be character-driven. I mean, you have the external pressure of being a werewolf. Like, that's not a decision he made, that was thrust upon him.
Yeah.
So it kind of depends on how much is spent on, like, werewolf life versus, like, just being in high school life. But I feel it could go either way.
Well, like there's not really a plot centered around him becoming the plot is him learning to like himself, but like the end thing is
Okay.
him actually fitting in as himself
Okay.
in high school.
Then yeah, I think that might actually lean towards character driven.
Like I think that's like trying to think of like the most unique character driven type story I could think of.
Yeah.
What about Ferris Bueller's Day Off?
Yeah.
Yeah, say that one's definitely character driven.
Yeah.
Because yeah, any other kid it would be totally different, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's all based on his decisions. It's his decision not to go to school, his decision to go to get Cameron to pick him up. Like it's all based on like what he wants to do with his day. So
yeah. Side note, I think we might have talked about it before. That Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Oh, Groundhog Day.
Groundhog Day.
Yes.
Yeah. We had that discussion already.
Yeah, if you haven't heard that discussion, listeners and readers, I don't remember what episode it was.
I don't know.
But we did talk about it, so go back and listen to all the episodes and you'll find it.
Yes, exactly. That's the way to do it. Okay, so character. I think we've kind of we've got a grasp of character driven versus plot driven.
Mm-hmm.
So now, what do we do with that information?
So depending on what you're writing, you can kind of lean towards one or the other. So if you are a romance writer, you're going to write character driven, most likely. Now you get into the new genre romantasy. I think that one's actually more plot driven because they're combining like a fantasy storyline with a kind of a major romance part as well. But it's usually we're all reacting to exterior stuff. We just have a high highlight on the romance as well. So if it's romantasy, you're probably doing plot driven. But if you're doing a romance, you're probably doing character driven. So if you can kind of look at the genre you're wanting to be in, then it will make it easier for you to write your story because you'll know what the expectations are going in, and what makes it more successful is, being this or that. But like you said, with the Teen Wolf, that's fantasy probably, but it was character driven. Usually fantasy is plot driven. So like you can do others.
Mm-hmm.
But especially if you're a new writer, like kind of being able to identify that is helpful. And then it'll help you write it as well, because you'll know, okay, if I'm a plot driven, I have to have this big thing that's going to disrupt my character's life. And then I'm going to have them face that in the end. So you kind of already have the beginning and the end of your story figured out if you know what that moment is and what that external force is. So that'll help you plot it. Or even if you're just a pantser, like you'll have a beginning and a start and you'll just have to write to the end. So I just said a beginning and a start, a beginning and an end, and you'll just write to the end.
I was picking up what you were laying down.
All right,
so.
Awesome. So anyway, so that'll help you write it. And then with the character driven, it's going to be more about your character and their decisions. So you're going to want to focus on that character initial development of making them unique, making them someone that people are interested to hear their story. And how are they different? How are their decisions going to be different than, the average person? What's going to draw people to this one person? And then
would it help from a plot driven versus character driven? Plot driven is a lot about the how.
Yes.
Character driven is about the why.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it.
You get elements of both. Like they cross over because you have to have the how in order for anybody to accomplish anything, and you want to have the why regardless of what your main character is doing.
Yes.
But the central focus, just trying to think about it, is the like Teen Wolf. He wants to fit in. He wants to fit in with the popular kids. He wants to he has close friends, but there's times where he likes being around those friends, and other times he's kind of ashamed about being around those friends or anything, regardless of the fact that he's a werewolf.
Yeah.
So the character driven, and again, maybe I'm just spitballing here, but
yeah, that was good.
Really, why you got to get down? Why do they do what they do?
Yes.
Something about them that drives the why of their story and move and propels them forward internally. It's
Yeah.
about them doing whatever this, whatever the small goal is, or whatever this average normal thing is, but it's
Mhm.
about the why of that person.
Yeah, their motivations and everything.
And
Yeah.
you still want to have, in plot driven stories, you still need to know the motivations and the why and everything of your character.
Mhm.
But the big thing story you're trying to tell is the how
Yes.
to get to the end.
How do they get through this? How do they react to that? How do they get over this?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot. Yeah. That's a good way of putting it. I like that. The why and the how. That makes it very simple.
You can write a blog about
I
that.
love it. I might one day.
or be like the how and the why.
Yes. Yes. But yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Sorry,
It's okay. Yeah.
I went to,
bunny trail.
Yep, I jumped right in there and I'm like, all right, derail.
No, that's good. Yeah, that's a great way of doing it. Okay, so character driven, we're talking about how to do that. You have to have a good character developed, and then you have to they have to be more active than a plot driven. Like, obviously you always want your characters to be proactive and they do stuff, but in the plot driven they can be passive kind of at the beginning because things are happening to them and they have to react. But there's going to be that switch where they say, okay, I'm gonna fix this, I'm done with this kind of thing. Versus the other one, it's a lot more about them having to make the decisions to make the story happen. So there's got to be something that they really want and that they're willing to do a lot of stuff for. So yeah, you want to make sure that they're very active in what they're doing. And then how you would write that is you kind of have an end goal. So like in your Teen Wolf, like he wants to fit in with the kids at school. So you'd have something like that. They want to get married, whatever. You're going to have that end goal. But then getting to it, it's all going to be based on your character's decisions. So you'll have them make this one decision, which will result in this. Then they have to make another decision, which results in this. And there still might be external pressures. I mean, if we have a romance, there might be an ex come in or a mom who doesn't approve of the one we're dating or something. So you still have those external factors, but it's going to be mostly motivated by what the character decides to do versus like, you're facing this now and you have no choice. Do something about it.
Yeah.
When you have a plot driven, that's how it works there. So that's kind of how it would affect writing it. As far as reading it, I don't think it affects readers too much to know if it's plot driven or character driven, except for they can just, I guess, sound smart or they can realize what kind they like. Because if there's multiple genres they like and they're like, wow, everything I like is plot driven or character driven, then it might be easier to pick out a book they like next time that is actually going to be a good one for them. So
yeah. So looking at it, you can have like plot driven, character centered, plot driven, plot centered, character driven, character centered, and character driven, plot centered.
Yes.
So with all of those, do you see do you see a combination or one of those combinations that would be like, well, this really like would be more of a challenge versus like, is plot centered, plot driven easier to write? Is one of those potentially, like, if you were to rate it in a most difficult to least difficult from a writing perspective to do it right? Or any of those, or maybe like, is plot driven, plot centered stories, are those like you have to write in a specific genre or a specific type, or it's not going to do well?
I don't know if it's necessarily limited to genre because like there's always a way you can bend something to kind of work. But as far as difficulty, I think it also depends on the person because some people can naturally write character really well. And so doing a character-driven, character-centered story would be super easy for them. But they can't do plot-driven because they're like, I don't care about that. Like, I just care about the people. So you end up having a story that's character-centered and supposed to be plot-driven, but there's really no plot. And so it can be a flop at that point. So it depends, obviously, on the person. I found a lot of people really struggle with portraying interiority well. So I would say probably the character-driven, character-centered would be technically the hardest maybe for most people. I I find that like most really new writers do very surface level writing on characters and stuff, so it's the easiest to mess up if you don't actually get into the character.
Yeah.
But I don't know if there's necessarily one that is worse or harder to do than others.
Yeah, I guess maybe like rephrasing I was trying to think how to ask the right. I was trying to think what's the question I'm trying to ask.
Okay.
But with those four types, like are there stories that you can think of that might fall into, like this is definitely plot driven, plot centered. This one is definitely character driven,
okay.
character centered. Or from a writing perspective, might there be times where through the story it shifts back and forth, where it changes? Like maybe if you were to plot all your chapters or your whole story, or maybe a series on a bell curve, well, the average is it's a plot. We know it's a plot driven story, but you kind of average out on you mostly fall on the side of it's also plot centered. But you have chapters or sections that definitely shift into the character centered. Like I don't know.
Generally, they don't change within one book, because it's frustrating for writers or for readers when it does change. I feel like so if you have a plot driven, you can't just all of a sudden change that to character driven, because then it'll feel like plot got forgotten.
Not driven, but centered on the centered side. Like it's definitely plot driven.
So the centered,
but where it's centered, is there shifting back and forth or?
Overall, I wouldn't think so. I mean, you have to focus on both. Like, so if it's plot driven, character centered, you're going to have plot constantly. Like, you're gonna have these major plot points that everybody's gonna be reading for. Like, when is this gonna happen? When is that gonna happen? But if you're doing character centered, then you're going to be really digging into who the character is and how they act in all these situations. If on one chapter you just all of a sudden decide you're just going to focus on plot centered and you don't add in any of the characters' like internal musings or anything within that chapter, readers are going to get frustrated and be like, oh, why? I want to know how they look. Why?
So it'd be like a really big tone shift.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know if you can do it within one book.
So does that make sense from a writing perspective, that you could maybe say, trying to break it down a little bit, or in simple terms of like the how and the why.
Yes.
So if we said plot centered or the how, and character centered, it's focused on the why. Then whether it's plot driven, come on, say the words right. So
okay.
Plot driven is driven by the how.
Yes.
Character driven is driven by the why. And then whether or not it's plot centered or character centered is really kind of the tone of your writing.
Yes.
Where the tone of your writing is either you're getting deep into characters, even though the plot is driving us forward, you have a lot of whys happening in there.
Yeah.
Why your characters do things, whether it's a single perspective or multiple perspective, you get all the whys of decisions they make and everything like that, to where you like really love or hate the characters, on purpose. And
going back to me bringing up romantasy, that whole genre is that blend of plot driven, character centered.
Yeah.
So you have the plot driven, which is the fantasy element, and then the character centered, which is more of the romance element. So you're focusing really hard on these characters, but you're still doing this plot driven kind of story.
Yeah.
So yeah, it changes the tone versus, having just a fantasy where you still get into characters, but that's not a huge main aspect of whether or not they get together kind of thing, that question.
So Pride and Prejudice, we've said, like that is a character driven story.
Yes.
It's all about the why. But there's also Pride and Prejudice and zombies.
Yes, there is.
And that one, totally different turn. That one is like the plot is no longer
just getting married.
The plot is fight zombies.
Yes, so it's then plot driven.
So it is now plot driven.
Yes.
But with this underlying tone that comes directly from the character driven Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah, exactly.
So you could take, I guess you could take, so here's a little thought experiment.
Okay.
You can take character-centered stories and like Pride and Prejudice and turn it into a plot-driven story by making it Pride and Prejudice and zombies.
Yes.
Telling the same story but adding the main plot is we have to defeat the zombies.
Yes. Yeah, you're taking the character-driven story, and if you add an external element to push against that, it then shifts up to being a plot-driven story.
How difficult would it be to go, or would it even be possible to go the other direction? Take a plot-driven story,
I'm not sure.
like,
sure
Lord of the
would
Rings and love.
Yes, yes. So the problem with that is, in order for it to not be plot-driven, you have to take away that external element. And when you take away that external element, it's not the same story anymore. So you could still follow the same characters. We could say, a life in Sam's life. Let's follow Sam's life through, his little hobbit and getting with whatever her name is and marrying and having kids. Like,
what if you condensed it down? If you made like Sam goes, like his whole adventure and everything all happens, but that's like just something that built him as a character, and then you continue on after that. Of like he went through all of this, and that's
the prologue to the story.
like it happens in part of the story, and he gets back like 2/3 of the way through, and the rest of the third is him falling in love. And
I'm not sure that would work. that sets up false expectations, I think, because at the beginning you're telling people we have to get this ring to the mountain and destroy and stop these evil people, and then you do it, but then the book just keeps going. You're like, I don't know if you've ever read one of those before, but I have, where it's like we accomplished the goal, and the resolution is like over a quarter of the book, and I'm like, okay, like I like to know kind of where the characters go, but like this just feels like you didn't want to stop writing or something. So I feel like that's probably what you'd end up there with if you tried to do that.
So if you turned it into, like the whole journey of the ring and everything was him telling the story, and it's the like the ultimate Reader's Digest version where he's telling his kids. And like, oh, well, that really like gets some insight into this character. Like, and if you want to read that story, there's this whole series called The Lord of the Rings you can go read.
Yeah.
But this is the story of Sam and who's the hobbit that he's like, I was going to marry.
Yeah, I don't remember her name.
But the real story is Sam marrying her.
Yes.
Getting the courage to do that and everything. And the whole plot, the whole thing of the ring and going to Mount Doom and all that stuff, that's like a side note that is like, here's where he got his courage.
So you want to write that as false tension at the beginning to make them think this is the story, and then we're going to dump it and go to the real story.
Yeah.
That was just, another story.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I'm not sure you can really take plot driven and change it to character driven. Now you can take a character in a plot driven story and make a character driven story from that.
Yeah.
But I don't think you can probably take a book and rewrite it. I'm sure you can. I'm sure there's a way, but I don't think it would be easy and very well done.
Yeah.
You could do it if you did a lot of fourth wall breaking.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
It would have to, could you do that without turning whatever it is into more of a comedic premise?
Not really, I don't think.
Like, are there any instances of fourth wall breaking that aren't comedy?
That aren't Deadpool?
Yeah.
I
don't know.
don't know.
But so how would let's see.
Yeah,
how would we make
Sam's does it a lot, but he's all comedy too.
Yeah. How would you tell Sam's story, breaking the fourth wall, and turn it into character driven?
I think it'd still be plot driven though, because he has to go on this journey to take the ring. I don't know.
I mean, unless it's like he's telling the story of going to get the ring, and it's not that's not the major part of the story. That's just a piece that comes in where he does a lot of like yada yada yada. We got to Mount Doom.
Yeah, you might be able to. Well, no, because he's still reacting. I was going to say, he is the one that makes the decision to go with Frodo, so you could maybe make that, like, this isn't thrust upon him. He's choosing to do this with his life. But that's still... I mean, Frodo gets kidnapped. That's something he has to react to then go save him. And this happens, he reacts to and goes and does this. So
I'm picturing it as a you'd have to write it in such a way that it would be like somebody who, a character in your story, and part of the story is them talking about being in World War One or World War Two. They fought in World War Two. Like, well, you can go read, like, It's All Quiet on the Western Front, and they're the person that it's talking about. You know, they're the soldier on the Western Front.
So like a story within a story.
Yeah.
Like, this is my everyday life, but let me tell you about when it wasn't an everyday life.
Yeah. So the plot, the main arc of the story is not them fighting in World War One. Or I keep saying World War One.
Well, if you're going with
the Western Front, then it's World War One. Yeah. Anyway, so they fought. They were a soldier in this war. The story is not about them being a soldier in the war. It's it's later.
Yeah.
But that story influences who they are, and so you get pieces of that come in.
Yeah.
That external thing that happened to them in the past. So you get Sam's story where he's back in the Shire, and you get pieces of that come through in his recollections and everything like that. And you actually get pieces of Lord of the Rings that come in. But the point of the story is he's just trying to fall in love and win over the girl, and the results of
dealing with Frodo leaving him.
Everything like that, he still feels those effects.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that could work.
But then then you're not telling the same story.
Yeah.
It's not like
it's a different
Pride
story.
and Prejudice and Zombies is telling the story of Pride and Prejudice, and there are zombies.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think when you change a character-driven to a plot-driven, you're taking that character-driven plot and making it a subplot in a different plot.
Yeah.
So, like, you have the zombies invading, but, like, at the same time, these people are trying to fall in love and get married. So,
I mean, is there a way to make saving the world a subplot to the everyday life of, I'm just trying to get married. I just happen to save the world.
I just happen to save the world. I'm sure there's something out there that's done that.
Okay, so
a reluctant hero.
Yeah, so there's the challenge for you of it would be like Pride and Prejudice. Elizabeth Bennet she has to save the world. To save her family and save everything. But the real story she's trying to tell is the conflict and then resolution with falling in love with Mr. Darcy.
With Darcy, yeah. She just happens
to
fix the rest of it.
Saving the world is like, she got the flu and had to overcome it.
It's kind of like how I view Jack Sparrow. Like, from Pirates of the Caribbean, like, he doesn't try to save the world, but he ends up doing stuff, like, without intending to. That Pirates of the Caribbean is still very plot-driven, it's not. But, like, if you had a character like that, where it was like, okay, like, this is my everyday life, that I accidentally do all this stuff, and in the end it happens to save the world, maybe.
Well, here's an example, and it's a comedy, and they do a little bit of fourth wall breaking, but only at the very beginning and the very end. And the movie is Support Your Local Sheriff.
Oh, yes.
So he's just on his way to Australia.
Yeah.
Like, literally, he's just trying to travel through California and he needs a job.
Yeah.
And so the story, like, from a character perspective, I mean, he chooses to become sheriff. He has to save the whole town.
Yes.
From the bad guys. But the main thing, the beginning thing was, he was just trying to go to Australia.
Yes.
He just needed a job temporarily
Yeah.
to get a little bit of extra money so he could make it to Australia.
this is just what I have to do to achieve my goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he happens to be like, he is like one of the fastest gunmen, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and one of the best shots, like ever.
Yes. Just happens to be perfect.
Yeah, he happens to be like amazing at being a sheriff and can defeat all the bad guys. But he's just traveling through. He's not trying to even get married. He's not trying to fall in love. He's not.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So is that plot driven or character driven?
I don't know. How does that one end again? He stays there?
Yeah, he stays there because remember the guy that he has become his deputy
Yeah.
comes walking out and he was like, well, you might be wondering, he never did make it to Australia, but he lived here and he did blah blah blah, and I went on to become one of the most one of the best loved characters in all of Western history.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, because there is external things happening, but at the same time, it is just an ordinary life in the West kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's not like he's really stopping anything in particular. Like this big, the bandits are going to raid our town, and he walks in and happens to stop them all.
Yeah.
Like, so it does kind of almost feel more character driven.
And everything he does, like none of it was thrust upon him.
Yeah.
Everything he does
choice.
was he chose to get involved. He chose the bad guy when he's like, the guy's like, oh, you all saw it? And he's like, well,
yeah,
that's not what I saw. He could have just kept his mouth shut, but he chooses like,
yes,
you dropped your shoulder and he went for his gun and then he shot him. Are you calling me a liar? No, that's not what I said. What I said was you fainted and dropped your shoulder, made him go for his gun, and then you drew and you shot him. Pretty clean. I've seen it done.
Yeah.
Seen it done, you were pretty good, but not the best.
Yeah. I saw
It's
it
like,
coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like all this stuff that he just decides to get involved.
Mm-hmm.
And all of it are, I'm going to get involved because it's a paying job that will help me on my goal of getting to Australia, which is pretty mundane.
Yes. Yes, exactly. So, yeah, that'd be another example.
But still, I don't know. I don't know where that one falls exactly.
Yeah, and some might be a little less clean cut than others, but most of the time it's pretty clear.
I think the thread is that, like Jared, you said, breaking the fourth wall thing is, it's maybe becomes more difficult to determine whether it's plot driven or character driven when you get into the realm of comedy. Because support your local sheriff.
You mean
very
driven or
comedic.
centered?
Driven. It's like support your local sheriff. It's like, well, is it plot driven? Is it character driven?
Yeah.
Like,
well, those usually more have to do with the ending. So, like, usually you can kind of figure the centered might be a little bit harder to figure out.
Yeah.
But, like, normally, like I said, if you have that big looming event or whatever, then you know it's going to be plot driven versus character.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, I think you could probably fall into the realm of ambiguity between plot driven or character driven.
There's always exceptions, and
in the realm of, I think it would be more difficult to be ambiguous in other genres, but in comedy, I think you could
switch.
Not easy, but you could fall into the realm of, well, I don't know, is this character or plot driven? Because you can change things up and make it chaotic and ridiculous.
Yeah, true, very true.
So. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. Yes, there's always those kind of blurry lines.
Yeah.
But
so, from your stories, what you're writing, the direction you're going, you said you used to say, "Oh, my story's character driven."
Yes.
And now?
I did, because my stories are character centered. So, fun fact, especially if you're a writer, you want to know this, is that most males are plot centered, usually, and most females are character centered. So, a lot of like books that are written specifically for men are usually following like all these events that happen, kind of thing. You're not getting into emotions and feelings and all that kind of stuff. Versus books for females usually have that more like, I want to know what's going on in their brain. I want to know how they think of that person. I want to know what they think of me. Like, so generally you have those two divides. Obviously there's crossovers. I really enjoy plot-centered ones too. So, but so I do a lot of character-centered because I love doing the characters and how they interact and how they approach problems together and things like that. But I also write fantasy, which usually has this big, giant, like, let's defeat this. Like, I like the epics. So it's like, the world's in danger, or we have this big enemy we have to take down, or something like that. And with that, it's going to be plot driven because you're going to have the antagonist making things happen that's going to make the protagonist have to react.
They have to.
And then you're going to have the big climax at the end where there's a fight or, whatever. So I learned it's like, okay, I do plot driven, but character centered. So.
Okay. So with, if someone's diving in, what's the big takeaway that somebody can step away from this conversation with plot driven versus character driven? If somebody's listening to this and they're like, well, how does this help me from on my writing journey?
It helps, like I said, if you know who your reader is. So if you're writing for women mostly, or men, or for people who love fantasy or romance, whatever, you can kind of know how you're going to structure your story up, like we talked earlier about how you have to figure out the two events for the plot or for developing the character more for the character driven ones. So that'll help you, I guess, kind of be able to get your book marketed to the correct direction that you're wanting to go. And I'm not going to say this is 100% true because I haven't analyzed all the numbers in the world, but the most popular combination is plot-driven and character-centered. Just because most of your commercial genres are plot-driven, so thriller, fantasy, mystery, all of those are mostly plot-driven. And then a lot of readers out there are female, so they like the character-centered. So that is kind of the most popular. So if you're trying to... I try not to write to the market, write what you want to write. There's going to be readers for it. But if you are concerned about that, that is kind of the bigger group right now of readers. But it also changes. If you write hard science fiction, most of those are male, so you might want to do plot-driven, plot-centered. So again, you kind of need to know what you're trying to write.
Yeah, I would say, I would say we see probably like the majority of one type or another within a specific genre. But if you were to break it, so you have like fantasy, horror, thriller, mystery, romance, you can break it down in as many subgenres as you want. Do you think there's like a clear divide of these stories are almost always plot centered, and then these, you go across the genre spectrum, and then you get to the other end of the spectrum, and this are almost always character driven?
So again, it kind of depends
not
on...
centered, not centered, but driven.
Yeah. I was going to say it is pretty clear in most genres. Like I was saying earlier, the romance is definitely character driven. But then if you change it to romantasy, then it's plot driven, but they're both still character centered. Yeah. So you can't very often write a romantasy that doesn't have that plot driven. Like you would just be having a romance in a fantasy world otherwise. So
it's going to be some form of Pride and Prejudice and zombies.
Yes. Yeah.
Exactly. So thinking about it, then, is there really even a divide between character driven or thinking back through just books in general? Like I could almost everything that you read, the vast majority, I would say, are probably plot driven.
Yeah, that's the commercial. Like that's pretty much the popular reads right now in fiction.
Well, I mean, I would say, like, even going back historically, go all the way back to Shakespearean stuff. Go anything, the Odyssey. throughout history, I would say most stories in general there's some big plot thing
Yes.
that that's what most stories are telling. Some major plot thing that has to happen.
Yes, exactly.
And then from there, it's a matter of, well, does the story focus on the plot, or does it focus on the characters traveling through the plot, traversing this plot?
Yes, yeah. And I think that's where it becomes a little more balanced.
Yeah.
Like, most of the books I think out there are plot driven.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can have that variation of plot centered versus character centered without that. Like, older books are pretty much all plot centered because they didn't really do a lot of character centered. I mean, there are some out there, but most of the time they were just focused on a story. They weren't focused on the people within the story.
Yeah.
That's been a shift in recent years of how we're all very into this. We want the people. So if you read classics, it's a very different style than now. And I think that's because they were more plot centered back then and we're more character centered in this day and age.
Okay. So that's where you'll see the shift. And that, like we started out at the beginning, that misclassification of what does it mean to be plot driven versus character driven, and what we're really talking about is plot centered versus character centered.
Yes.
And so we'll see a spectrum of plot centered versus character centered, and over time, the shift between, are you seeing more books that are plot centered, or more stories, whether it's books, movies, plays,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, more of them that are plot centered versus character centered. Where you see less variation is whether or not it's plot driven versus character driven.
Right.
And some genres make it nearly impossible to write a character centered story. Like you go into certain genres and you're only ever going to see plot driven stories in that genre. They may be character centered, and that shift will change back and forth over time, but they're almost always going to be plot driven.
Yeah, because, like, for instance, you can't really have a character centered mystery.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess unless it's like no, because you still have you have a mystery to solve. That's the external event. So you can't write a mystery without that external event. So they're pretty much all plot centered. But then other ones like fantasy, it could go both ways. Most of the time it is plot centered or plot driven. But like right now, cozy mysteries are becoming, or not cozy mystery, cozy fantasy is becoming kind of a bigger genre amongst people. And that's usually just following a person in their everyday life in a magical world. Like, oh, this person is in a coffee shop and we just want to know about their life in a coffee shop. In this mystical world, we just want to, live it. We just want to live in a different world. That would be character driven.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, if it was Pride and Prejudice and zombies, but it wasn't, they have to defeat the zombies.
Yeah,
it's like, they happen to live in a world of zombies.
Yeah, it's just normal.
Like, okay, that's just another element of the world. The focus is still Elizabeth and Mr. Darcy.
Yeah, and that is the difference when we say it's following a person through their, a normal or everyday life kind of thing. It's everyday life for them. So you can still have fantastical stuff in there, but it doesn't make it plot driven if it's just normal.
Yeah. I was trying to think of like the cartoon. Did you ever watch the cartoon The Tick?
Mm-mm. No.
It's like it's a funny, like crazy cartoon. The Tick is a superhero, but he's like, the voice is done by the guy that does Johnny Bravo, I think. Or, no, it's not. It's not the same guy.
Guy that does Kronk.
Kronk. Yeah,
okay.
The Kronk. Yeah. But like the ad for it's like, there's no job he can't accomplish, and then it shows the Tick, and he's this big blue guy with little antenna, and he's like, I'm doing laundry. He's like kind of a dumb.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he has like all kinds of super strength and everything like that. You follow him along, and he's in a world, like every episode there's some villain he has to defeat. But if you look at the whole series, it's just like he just lives in that world. Yeah. Throughout the series, there is no arch for the Tick. He just lives in this world where there's bad guys and they're crazy villains. It's like there's the bread maker who makes loaves of bread that have some kind of internal timer on them, and when it goes off, it swells up to a city block and destroys all of the everything in that city block.
Yeah.
Like giant loaves of bread, and he's got to stop the bread maker.
Okay.
Like that's an episode, but the story of the Tick is it's just his everyday life.
Yeah.
So I'm like, if you look at each episode is a plot-driven episode.
Mm-hmm.
But if you take the series as a whole, the series is just the Tick just trying to get on with his life and fit into society and be able to go grocery shopping without people pointing at him and he just wants to be able to go shopping stuff. So
that's great.
Anyway, it's kind of so I guess that would be kind of if you wanted to pull off you could be episodic in plot driven stories where if the whole Lord of the Rings tale was one episode of Sam's life, but you had multiple episodes, and then by the end he's just trying to
this is just his life.
This is just his life. It's all these different series of things that happened. The overarching story is he's just trying to get married.
Yeah, I think the thing to ask there would be, is this everyday life for everyone? Like, does everyone have to defeat a bad guy every day? Is that just part of the, like, oh, okay, this guy, just get rid of him? Then, it would be character-driven because that's what everybody's experiencing. Yeah. But if it's only happening to this one person, then I'd say it's more of an event because it's special to them. Yeah, that's where, and that fits perfectly with the Tick because they even have, like, they have, like, superhero get-togethers. Yeah. And it's like, there are all kinds of superheroes in this town. And there are some people that are trying to be superheroes. Like there's one guy that's either, what is he? Electro Man or Electrostatic Man. Yeah. Something like that. And he's just a guy, but he has himself wrapped in really fuzzy carpet. And he rubs his arms and he rubs his legs. So he builds up static electricity and he can actually shock people to stop bad guys. Okay. But he's wrapped in carpet, so he overheats all the time and gets dehydrated, and then has to go sit down, and they have to like give him water and stuff because he's like having heat exhaustion. Mm-hmm. They're like, maybe you should pick something else. He's like, no, I'm an electric guy. But there are people that are like actual superheroes, and a bunch of other people that want to be superheroes, and they all have sidekicks. And they go to parties, and it's like, well, you got to go to the sidekick lounge. Sidekicks aren't allowed in the main. With the superheroes. All the sidekicks go to the lounge over there. So in the world that he lives in. So it's normal. Yeah, it's normal. There's a time, most people are just everyday normal people. And then there are superheroes, and some of them are like really embracing, we are superheroes. And some people are just like, okay, I'm a superhero. I fight bad guys, but I don't want to be famous. I don't want to give autographs. I just want to go shopping without people bothering me. So you get this dynamic throughout the whole series where it's really kind of you learn about all these characters and they're just living their lives as superheroes. Yeah. But each episode is plot driven of some big thing has to be accomplished. Yeah. For that episode, but that's not the story of their whole life. Yeah, but the series is character driven. That's cool. Yeah. That's a fun way of doing it. Yeah. So there you go. That's how we could make Sam. We could break the fourth wall, or we could just be like, well, that was episode 1. Yeah. Now going on to the next life. Yeah. Very cool. So anything else plot-driven, character-driven that you want to leave our listeners with? No. Tips or tricks? I think that about covers it. I think we kind of nailed it. Hopefully we've given enough examples that people kind of get an idea of what it means. And it's not, like I said earlier, it's not a huge craft thing for writers. So, it's fun to know, but it's not like you have to know in order to do it. It does help you, I think, hone your skills. But so if you're listening and you're like, I still have no idea, like, it's fine. Like, you can go to my website and read it and see if reading it helps. But in the end, it's okay. You could still be a good writer without totally nailing down this concept. Yeah. And I am like 100% sure that if we threw this conversation into like a group of writers, that it would be like all kinds of arguments about what
character driven versus plot driven actually means.
Yes, absolutely. Like I said, I've heard even agents in the industry, I think, use it incorrectly. And I think they use it incorrectly because when I went and wrote this for my website, I went back to like, what's the original source of people using this and what did it mean then? And maybe that topic, that idea of it has shifted through the years, and maybe like the industry itself has decided to change what it means. But this was the original of what they meant when they said this. And I think it's a lot clearer than what everybody wants to use it as now. So I teach it this way. But like I said, like you said, like the industry, who knows? A whole group of people could just totally come up with their own way of doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if you posted this today on like, all right, this is the definition.
Yeah, some sort of chat thing.
Yeah.
I'm sure it just blow
It would
up.
be like, hey, and I'm going to come burn your house down. That's not how writing works.
Yes, yeah. But, that's writing. It's all individual journey and opinion, and you learn what you can, apply what works, and keep going.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well, yeah, interesting discussion. Interesting, so Jared, we have to say our story is plot driven.
Yeah.
Character centered, but plot driven. We're not a character driven story.
No.
We've been lying to everyone.
It's okay. They probably didn't know it.
Yeah, they didn't know. We didn't know, but the most important thing is they didn't know. And after this conversation, they're probably going to be like, I still don't know.
I still don't know. Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
As always, it's have some interesting conversations.
Yes. Yeah. Swim some rabbit holes and everything.
Yep. And thank you for coming along, listening to us. Have any thoughts? Send them our way. Go to lizverity.com.
Yeah. Yeah, if you want to tell me I'm wrong and what you think, there's a contact page. You can let me know what your opinion is on character-driven versus plot-driven.
Yep. Go find your sources, send them her way, and be like, here's why I think you're wrong.
Yeah.
Otherwise, she's going to, if you just say, I think you're wrong, she'll go, no, I'm not.
I'll be okay. Moving on.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us. We will see you next time. Till then, go in good spirits. Thanks for listening to the Creators Guild podcast. Don't forget to get your copy of A Flight from Shadows, available on Amazon. While you're there, please rate it and give it a review. If you like the Creators Guild, please like and subscribe, and make sure to share it with your friends. Until next time, go in good spirits.